Hanna stepped off the transport ship and looked up at the massive space station floating before her. Nexus Prime was bigger than any city she had ever seen on Earth. The station stretched out in all directions with gleaming metal towers and glass domes that sparkled with thousands of lights. Ships of every size and shape moved around it like busy insects. Her right hand tingled as she stared at the Academy. The strange birthmark on her palm always felt warm when she was nervous or excited. The mark looked like writing from some ancient language. It had small lines and curves that seemed to dance across her skin. Sometimes in bright light it would glow very softly with a golden color. Hanna had never understood why she was born with this mark. Her parents said it was just a birthmark and nothing special. But looking at the Academy now, she felt the mark grow warmer than it had ever been before. The docking bay was full of students from dozens of different alien species. Tall blue beings with forearms carried floating luggage. Small gray creatures with large black eyes chattered in high voices. Giant rock people moved slowly through the crowd, making deep rumbling sounds. Everyone stopped talking when they saw Hanna walk by. She was the only human in sight. Their stares made her feel very small and out of place. Some pointed at her and whispered to their friends. Others just looked away like she was something disgusting. A tall creature with purple skin and silver eyes approached her. He wore expensive-looking clothes and walked like he owned the entire station. Behind him followed two other aliens who looked like they were his servants. "This is Prince Kethvar of the Velkarian royal house," the creature said, in perfect Galactic standard language. His voice was cold and proud. "And you must be the primitive human we heard about." Hanna tried to stand up straight and look confident. "My name is Hanna. I am here to study at the Academy." Kethvar laughed and his followers joined in. "Study," he said. "How can something that barely knows how to make fire hope to understand quantum physics or stellar engineering?" A female with pale green skin and no hair walked over to them. Her eyes were completely white and seemed to glow slightly. This was clearly one of the telepathic species Hanna had read about. "I am Kiltara of the Zephyrian Noble Circle," the female said without moving her lips. Her voice appeared directly in Hanna's mind. "I can sense your thoughts, human. Your brain is so simple and loud. It hurts to be near you." More students gathered around to watch. They formed a circle with Hanna in the middle. She felt trapped and scared but tried not to show it. The mark on her hand was getting very warm now. A small crystalline being that looked like it was made of living diamond pushed through the crowd. It moved with sharp, quick motions and its body made soft ringing sounds like wind chimes. "I am Velnash, the crystal being said in a voice like breaking glass. The Academy has assigned me as your dorm mate. I want you to know that I did not ask for this. I will not speak to you or help you in any way." The crowd of alien students laughed and made comments about how the human would probably break everything she touched. Some said humans were too stupid to use the bathroom facilities properly. Others wondered if she would try to eat the other students. Hanna felt her face turn red with anger and embarrassment. She wanted to run back to the transport ship and go home to Earth. But she thought about her family and how proud they were when she got accepted to the Academy. She thought about all the humans who were counting on her to prove they belonged in Galactic society. A deep voice boomed across the docking bay. "Enough, everyone." Turned to see a massive creature walking toward them. It was over 3 meters tall with dark red scales and golden eyes. Smoke came from its nostrils as it breathed. This was clearly one of the ancient dragon people that ruled the Academy. Dean Morgoth looked down at the crowd of students with displeasure. "You will all report to your dormitories immediately. Classes begin tomorrow and I expect better behavior from representatives of civilized species." The students scattered quickly. They did not want to anger the dean. Kethvar gave Hanna one last cold look before walking away with his followers. Kiltara smiled without warmth and faded into the crowd. Velnash made an annoyed ringing sound and headed toward the dormitory levels. Dean Morgoth looked down at Hanna with his ancient golden eyes. "Young human," he said in a voice like distant thunder, "you are the first of your species to attend this academy in over 3 centuries. Many question whether humans are ready for such advanced education." Hanna looked up at the enormous dragon. "I will work very hard, sir. I will prove that humans deserve to be here." The dean studied her for a long moment. His eyes seemed to look right through her. "You carry something interesting, child," he said quietly. "Something old. Be very careful with gifts you do not yet understand." Before Hanna could ask what he meant, the dean walked away. His massive form disappeared into the crowd of aliens and Academy staff. Hana stood alone in the docking bay holding her single bag of belongings. The mark on her hand was still warm and seemed to pulse gently like a heartbeat. She looked around at the amazing station that would be her home for the next 4 years. Everyone here thought humans were primitive and stupid. They expected her to fail and prove that her species did not belong among the stars. But Hana had not come this far to give up now. She picked up her bag and walked toward the dormitory section. The corridor was full of amazing sights. Walls showed star maps of the entire galaxy. Holographic displays explained the history of dozens of different civilizations. Robot servants glided by carrying supplies and messages. Everything was so advanced compared to Earth. The technology here was like magic. Hana wondered if she really was smart enough to learn alongside beings who grew up with such amazing tools. Her room was small but clean. It had 2 beds on opposite sides with a study desk under each window. Feldnash was already there arranging crystalline objects on his side of the room. He did not look at Hana when she entered. Hana put her bag on the empty bed and looked out the window. She could see Earth as a small blue dot in the distance. It looked so tiny and insignificant compared to all the other worlds visible in the galactic core. Tomorrow she would start classes with students who thought she was barely intelligent enough to tie her own shoes. She would have to prove herself every single day while carrying the hopes of her entire species. The mark on her hand pulsed once more, and then grew cool. Hana closed her eyes and made a promise to herself. She would succeed here no matter what it took. She would show the galaxy that humans were more than anyone expected. Hana's first week at the academy was harder than anything she had ever experienced. Every morning she woke up to find her study materials missing or damaged. Her datapad would be broken or her notes would be erased. Feldnash pretended she did not exist and never spoke a single word to her. In the dining hall, no one would sit near her. When she tried to join a table, the alien students would get up and move away. They would hold their noses and make disgusted faces like she smelled bad. Some would point at her and laugh while talking in their own languages. The worst part was the study groups. Every species at the academy formed groups to help each other with homework and projects. But whenever Hana tried to join a group, they would tell her they were full or that humans were too slow to keep up. Professor Zithkol was the cruelest of all her teachers. The 6-armed spider creature taught advanced quantum physics. During every class, he would call on Hana to answer the hardest questions. When she got something wrong, he would click his mandibles and shake all 6 of his arms. "Miss Lee," he would say in his hissing voice, "perhaps you should return to your primitive world and learn basic mathematics first. This material is clearly too advanced for a human brain to process." The other students would laugh every time. Hana felt her face burn with shame, but she tried to keep studying. The mark on her hand would grow warm during these moments. Sometimes it would pulse with a faint golden light that she tried to hide under her sleeves. Things got worse when Prince Keithvar decided to make tormenting her into a daily activity. He would wait for her outside classrooms with his followers. They would block her path and force her to answer questions about human culture. "Tell us, human," Keithvar would say with his cold smile. "Is it true that your species still kills each other over pieces of colored cloth you call flags?" How barbaric. His followers would laugh and add their own insults. They said humans were violent animals who could not control their emotions. They said Earth was a dirty little world full of pollution and war. One day in the corridor, Kiltara joined the group surrounding Hana. The telepathic alien pressed her white glowing eyes closed and then opened them wide. "I can read her thoughts right now," Kiltara announced to everyone nearby. "She's thinking about her primitive family back on Earth. They live in small boxes and eat dead animals. How disgusting." Hana felt violated and angry. No one should be reading her private thoughts without permission. The mark on her hand began to burn like it was on fire. For just a moment, the golden glow became bright enough to see through her sleeve. "Stop reading my mind," Hana said firmly. "That is not allowed without consent." Kiltara laughed inside Hana's head. "Your thoughts are so loud and simple. I cannot help but hear them. It is like having someone scream in a library." The crowd of students grew larger. They formed a circle around Hana, just like on her first day. But this time she was not going to stay quiet. "We may be different from you," Hana said, looking at each alien face around her. "But humans have accomplished great things. We have art and music and literature. We have traveled to the stars just like you." Keithvar stepped closer to her. His purple skin seemed to darken with anger. "You have barely left your own solar system. You use crude chemical rockets while we have mastered quantum tunneling and dimensional gates. You are children playing with fire. The mark on Hana's palm was now pulsing with steady golden light. She pressed her hand against her leg to try to hide it, but the glow was getting stronger. Some of the students noticed and pointed at her hand. "What is that light human?" Velnash asked in his glass-breaking voice. His crystalline body reflected the golden glow and made it dance across the walls. Hana pulled her hand behind her back. "It is nothing. Just a birthmark." Kiltara's white eyes went very wide. She took a step backward and her face showed fear for the first time. "That is not just a birthmark," she whispered. "I can sense something ancient connected to it. Something very old and very powerful." The crowd of students began to murmur and whisper. They had never seen the confident Kiltara look afraid of anything. The golden light from Hana's hand was now bright enough to cast shadows on the walls. Professor Zuthkol came clicking down the corridor on his 8 legs. He saw the crowd and pushed through with his 6 arms. What is the meaning of this disturbance? Then he saw the golden light coming from Hana's hand. All 6 of his eyes went wide and he made a sharp hissing sound. His mandibles clicked rapidly like he was very nervous. "All students return to your dormitories immediately," the professor ordered. "Miss Lee, please report to my office for academic evaluation." The crowd scattered quickly. They did not want to get in trouble with a professor. But Hana could see them looking back at her with new expressions. They were no longer just mocking her. Now they looked curious and maybe a little afraid. In Professor Zythkol's office, Hana sat in a chair, while the spider alien examined her from all angles. The mark on her hand had stopped glowing but was still very warm. "Show me this birthmark, human," the professor commanded. Hana reluctantly held out her right hand. The professor leaned in close with all 6 eyes focused on her palm. He made soft clicking sounds as he studied the intricate pattern of lines and curves. "Interesting," he said quietly. "Very interesting indeed. These symbols are not from any known human writing system. They appear to be far older than your civilization. What do you think it means?" Hana asked. The professor was quiet for a long time. His 6 arms moved in complex patterns like he was thinking very hard. "I do not know," he finally said, "but I suggest you keep this mark hidden. There are those at this academy who would not react well to such mysteries." That night, Hana lay in her bed staring at her hand. In the darkness, the mark glowed very softly like dying embers. She wondered what it really was and why it seemed to react to strong emotions. Belnash was arranging his crystal collection again. For the first time since she arrived, he spoke to her. "The other students are talking about you." His voice rang like wind chimes. "They say you have some kind of ancient power. They are starting to fear you instead of just mocking you." Hana turned to look at her roommate. His crystalline body caught the faint light from her mark and sparkled like a diamond. "Is that good or bad?" she asked. Belnash was quiet for a moment. "I do not know," he said finally. "But everything at this academy is about to change because of you." Outside their window, the stars shone down on the academy. Somewhere among those distant lights was Earth and Hana's family. She wondered if they could sense that something important was happening to her. The mark on her hand pulsed once more and then grew cool. Hana closed her eyes and tried to sleep. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new mysteries. But for the first time since arriving, she felt like maybe she was not as alone as she thought. 2 weeks after the corridor incident, Hana was assigned punishment duty for failing another quantum physics test. She had to clean Professor Vorthak's archaeology laboratory every evening after classes. The old mantis professor collected ancient artifacts from dead civilizations across the galaxy. The laboratory was filled with strange objects behind glass cases. There were crystal spheres that hummed with energy and metal tablets covered in unknown writing. Broken weapons and jewelry from 1,000 different worlds lined the walls. Hana was dusting a display case when she saw something that made her heart stop. Inside the case were several stone tablets covered in symbols that looked exactly like the mark on her hand. The intricate lines and curves were identical to the pattern on her palm. She looked around to make sure Professor Vorthak was not watching. The old mantis was in his office reviewing student papers. Hana pressed her right hand against the glass case and immediately felt the mark begin to warm. The tablets inside the case started to glow with the same golden light as her birthmark. The symbols on the stones pulsed and moved like they were alive. Hana pulled her hand away quickly and the glow faded. A small card next to the display read, "Terra Antiqua Civilization, Age Unknown, Origin Unknown." Hana had never heard of Terra Antiqua before. She made a mental note to research it later in the Academy library. The next evening, while cleaning, she tried touching the case again. This time, the golden glow was even brighter. The symbols on the tablet seemed to rearrange themselves into new patterns. For just a moment, Hana thought she could almost understand what they meant. Professor Vorthak came out of his office and saw the glowing display case. His compound eyes went wide and his forearms began waving frantically. "What are you doing, human?" He clicked in his insect voice. "Step away from that case immediately." Hana moved back, but the tablets continued to glow for several more seconds before fading. The professor approached the case carefully and examined it from all angles. "How did you activate these artifacts?" he asked. "They have been dormant for over 50,000 years. "I just touched the glass," Hana said quietly. "I did not mean to break anything." The professor stared at her for a long time. His compound eyes reflected the light from the overhead panels. "You did not break anything, child. You awakened something that has been sleeping for millennia." After her punishment duty, Hana went to the Academy library to research Terra Antiqua. The library was enormous, with millions of books and data files from every known civilization. Floating platforms carried students between different levels of towering shelves. Hana searched the computer terminals but found very little information about Terra Antiqua. Most of the files were marked as classified or corrupted. She found only brief mentions in archaeological reports about ruins discovered on dead worlds in the Outer Rim. One file contained a single image of a ruined city on a barren planet. The buildings were made of a golden metal that still gleamed despite being ancient. Strange symbols covered every surface. Hana recognized some of the symbols as matching her birthmark. A soft voice behind her said, "Are you looking for information about the old ones?" Hana turned to see an elderly human woman pushing a cleaning cart. She had gray hair and kind eyes. Her uniform showed she was part of the maintenance staff. "My name is Park Bakja," the woman said in Korean. "I have worked at this academy for 60 years. My family has served here for 4 generations. Hana was surprised to meet another human. She had thought she was the only one at the academy. "You are Korean too," she said in their shared language. Park Bakja smiled and nodded. "My great-grandfather came here as a young man. He told stories about the marked ones before he died. Stories the academy does not want people to remember." The old woman looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then she whispered, "Meet me in storage room 7 tomorrow night after your classes. There are things you need to know about your heritage." The next evening, Hana found storage room 7 in the lower levels of the academy. Park Bakja was waiting with a young man who looked to be in his 20s. "This is my grandson Kim Dae-ho," she said. "He maintains the academy computer systems. He has been helping me research your people's true history." Dae-ho bowed politely to Hana. "I have been watching you since you arrived," he said. "The way technology responds to your presence is remarkable. Even the academy security system seemed to recognize you." Park Bakja pulled out an old data pad that looked ancient compared to academy technology. "My great-grandfather left this for his descendants. It contains records that the Galactic powers tried to erase." She activated the device and holographic images appeared in the air. They showed a vast star empire with thousands of worlds connected by golden ships. The beings in the images looked human, but their technology was far beyond anything Hana had ever seen. 50,000 years ago, humans ruled most of this galaxy, the old woman explained. "We were called the first wanderers. Our technology was so advanced that other species thought we were gods." The hologram showed humans with glowing marks on their hands, just like Hana's birthmark. They could control massive machines with just a touch. They built cities that floated in space and ships that could travel between dimensions. "What happened to them?" Hana asked. "Where did they all go?" Park Bakja's expression grew sad. "They disappeared almost overnight. Some say they transcended to a higher plane of existence. Others believe they were destroyed by something from beyond our galaxy. The only traces left behind were ruins and occasionally a marked child born among their scattered descendants." Dae-ho leaned forward. "The current galactic powers deliberately hid this history. They destroyed most records and isolated Earth to prevent humans from remembering their heritage. The academy was originally built by your ancestors as a school for all species." Hana looked at the mark on her hand. It was glowing softly in response to the holographic displays. The symbols seemed to pulse in rhythm with her heartbeat. "The mark chooses those who are ready," Park Bakja said. My great-grandfather said the marked ones would return when the galaxy faced its greatest danger. Perhaps that time is now? The hologram faded and the room grew dark except for the golden glow from Hana's palm. She felt a deep connection to the ancient humans in the images. Their technology had recognized her just like the tablets in Professor Vorthak's laboratory. Over the next few days, Hana began to notice changes in how Academy systems responded to her. Doors would open before she reached them. Computer terminals would activate when she walked by. The environmental controls in her dormitory would adjust to her preferences automatically. Belnash noticed these changes too. "Your presence is affecting the Academy infrastructure," he observed in his chiming voice. "The older systems seem drawn to you." During quantum physics class, Hana found the complex equations beginning to make sense for the first time. Professor Zeithkol was explaining dimensional mathematics when suddenly Hana understood concepts that had confused her for weeks. The mark on her hand grew warm as knowledge flowed into her mind. She could see how the equations connected to each other and how they described the fundamental structure of reality. Her test scores began improving dramatically. Professor Zeithkol noticed the change and called her to his office after class. "Your recent performance has been most unusual," he said, clicking his mandibles. "These concepts typically take years for human minds to grasp." Hana tried to hide her glowing palm under the desk. "I have been studying very hard, Professor." The spider alien studied her with all 6 eyes. "I suspect there is more to your improvement than simple study. Be careful, Miss Lee. Rapid advancement often draws unwanted attention at this academy." That night, Hana lay awake thinking about everything she had learned. Her ancestors had once ruled the stars with technology that seemed like magic. They had built the very academy where she now faced discrimination and mockery. The mark on her hand pulsed with gentle golden light as she wondered what other secrets were waiting to be discovered. Somewhere in the academy archives, there had to be more information about the first wanderers and why they had vanished. Outside her window, the stars seemed brighter than usual. Hana felt like they were calling to her, welcoming her home to a heritage she was only beginning to understand. Word spread quickly through the academy about Hana's sudden improvement in her studies. Students who had mocked her for weeks now watched her with suspicious eyes. Her test scores in quantum physics had jumped from failing to the highest in the class. Professor Zeithkol could not explain how a human brain had grasped concepts so quickly. Prince Keithavar was furious about Hana's success. He gathered his followers in the common area where many students spent their free time. His purple skin was darker than usual, which meant he was very angry. "This human is making fools of us all," he said to the crowd around him. "First she arrives with some mysterious glowing mark. Now she suddenly understands advanced physics better than species who have studied it for centuries." Kiltara nodded her hairless head. Her white glowing eyes focused on nothing as she tried to read thoughts from across the academy. "I can sense her mind has changed," she said. "It is no longer simple and loud. There are deep places in her thoughts that I cannot reach." A large reptilian student from the Saurian Empire hissed his agreement. "My people have legends about humans," he said. "Ancient stories say they once possessed technology that could destroy entire star systems. Perhaps this one is awakening those old powers." The crowd of students began to whisper nervously among themselves. They had all heard myths about the mysterious first wanderers, but most thought they were just stories. Now they were starting to wonder if the legends might be true. Belnash approached the group with his crystalline body chiming softly. "I share a dormitory with the human," he announced. "Strange things happen around her at night. The academy systems respond to her presence even when she is sleeping." Kethvar stood up to his full height. His silver eyes gleamed with determination. "Then we must test her properly," he declared. "I challenge Hana to a trial of worthiness. If she fails, she must leave the academy forever." The trial of worthiness was an ancient academy tradition. Any student could challenge another to prove they belonged among the galactic elite. The challenged student could not refuse without admitting they were unworthy of their place. News of the challenge reached Hana during her evening meal. She was sitting alone as usual when Daeho approached her table. He looked worried as he sat down across from her. "Kethvar has issued a formal challenge," he said quietly. "The trial will take place in 3 days in the Nexus Core. That is the most dangerous facility on the entire station." Hana felt her heart sink. She had heard about the Nexus Core from other students. It was where the academy tested experimental technology and trained advanced students in dangerous procedures. Many accidents had happened there over the years. What does the trial involve, she asked. Daeho looked around to make sure no one was listening. 3 tests, he whispered. Mental prowess, physical endurance, and moral judgment. The tests are designed to favor different species. Humans have never performed well in academy trials. That night, Hana met with Park Bokja and Daeho in storage room 7. The old woman brought more ancient data from her family collection. She activated the holographic display and showed images of marked humans from the old empire. Your ancestors faced many trials, the old woman explained. They learned that the mark is not just a symbol of power. It is a connection to something much larger than yourself. The hologram showed marked humans standing together during what looked like a great battle. Their birthmarks blazed with golden light as they fought against dark creatures that seemed to absorb light itself. The mark responds to your emotions and your will, Park Bokja continued, but it also responds to your desire to protect others. The ancient texts say the marked ones were guardians, not conquerors. Daeho leaned forward with concern in his eyes. Grandmother, the trial takes place in the Nexus Core. That facility has security systems that have not been activated in decades. If Hana's mark triggers the wrong response, it could be very dangerous. Park Bokja nodded gravely. That may be the point, she said. Some members of the Academy faculty know more about human history than they admit. This trial might be designed to eliminate marked humans before they can awaken fully. Over. The next 2 days, Hana tried to prepare for the trial. She studied Academy, records about previous challenges, and practiced meditation, techniques that Park Bokja taught her. The mark on her hand grew warmer each day as if sensing the approaching danger. Strange things continued happening around her. During a chemistry class, the experimental equipment activated itself when she walked by. In the library, ancient data files unlocked themselves when she searched for information. Even the Academy food dispensers began producing meals, perfectly suited to human nutrition. Professor Zithkol called her to his office the day before the trial. His 6 arms moved nervously as he spoke to her. Miss Lee, I must advise you to withdraw from this challenge, he said. The Nexus Core contains technology that even the faculty does not fully understand. Some of those systems are older than the Academy itself. Why are you warning me? Hana asked. You have never been kind to me before. The spider alien was quiet for a long moment. His compound eyes reflected the light from his desk panels. Because I have begun to suspect that you are far more important than any of us realized, he said finally. And because I fear what might happen if you are lost. The night before the trial, Hana could not sleep. The mark on her hand pulsed with steady golden light that she could not dim. Felnash sat up in his crystal bed and watched the light dance across the dormitory walls. You are afraid, his voice chimed softly. This is the first time he had shown any real emotion since they became roommates. Yes, Hana admitted. I do not know if I am strong enough for this. Felnash was quiet for several minutes. Then he spoke again in his glass-like voice. My people believe that courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what must be done despite the fear. The next morning, students gathered in large numbers to watch the trial. Word had spread throughout the academy that something significant was about to happen. Even professors who rarely attended student events came to observe. The Nexus Core was located in the deepest part of the academy station. The corridors leading to it were lined with warning signs in dozens of languages. Heavy blast doors sealed the entrance and required special authorization to open. Dean Morgoth stood before the gathered crowd. His massive dragon form cast shadows across the hallway. The trial of worthiness will test 3 fundamental qualities, he announced in his thunderous voice. Intelligence, strength, and character. Failure in any test results in immediate expulsion. Hana walked forward to face the dean. Behind her, she could see hundreds of alien students watching with eager anticipation. Many expected her to fail spectacularly and prove once and for all that humans did not belong at the academy. The mark on her hand was now glowing so brightly that she could not hide it. Golden light leaked through her fingers and cast strange patterns on the floor. Several professors exchanged worried glances when they saw the intensity of the glow. Are you prepared to face this trial, young human? The dean asked. Hana looked up at the ancient dragon and nodded. I am ready, she said. But as the blast doors began to open, she wondered if she was walking into a trap designed to destroy her before she could discover the full truth about her heritage. The golden light from her palm pulsed faster, as if warning her of the dangers ahead. Inside the Nexus core, ancient machines hummed with power that had been dormant for thousands of years. They seemed to sense her approach and began awakening from their long sleep. The Nexus core was unlike anything Hana had ever seen. The enormous chamber stretched out in all directions with walls that seemed to pulse with their own inner light. Ancient machines lined the walls from floor to ceiling. Most looked dormant, but some were beginning to hum with awakening power. Dean Morgoth led the group of observers to a raised platform overlooking the trial area. His golden dragon eyes surveyed the chamber with what looked like worry. Behind him stood Professor Zeithkol, the pale cetacean Dr. Leviatha, and the massive bear-like Commander Groktar. The trial consists of 3 challenges, the Dean announced to the gathered crowd. First, mental prowess, where contestants must solve an ancient puzzle. Second, physical endurance through the obstacle course. Third, moral judgment, where they must make a choice that affects others. Prince Kethvar stood confidently with his purple skin gleaming under the chamber lights. Beside him was Kiltara, whose white glowing eyes were focused on the ancient machines. A third contestant had joined them. A large insectoid student from the Mantis Collective named Zekthon. Hana walked to the starting position feeling very small compared to her opponents. The mark on her right hand was blazing with golden light so bright that other students pointed and whispered. She tried to focus on what Park Bokja had taught her about staying calm. The first test began when a massive wall screen activated. It showed a complex 3-dimensional puzzle made of rotating geometric shapes. Symbols covered each surface and they had to be arranged in the correct pattern to solve it. Kethvar immediately began working on the puzzle using his advanced Valkyrian mathematical training. His forearms moved quickly as he manipulated the virtual shapes. Kiltara closed her white eyes and tried to use her telepathic abilities to sense the correct solution. Zekthon approached the puzzle methodically using his species' natural talent for pattern recognition. His compound eyes could see details that other species missed. Hana stared at the puzzle, feeling lost. The symbols meant nothing to her and the shapes seemed to move randomly. But as she watched, the mark on her palm grew warmer and began pulsing with steady golden light. Suddenly, the symbols on the puzzle began to glow with the same golden color as her birthmark. The ancient human writing became clear to her for the first time. She could read the instructions that had been hidden in the alien interface. The puzzle was not about mathematics or telepathy or pattern recognition. It was about understanding the connection between all living things. The symbols told a story about unity and cooperation between different species. Hana reached out and touched the interface. Golden light flowed from her hand into the puzzle system. The geometric shapes rearranged themselves automatically into a beautiful pattern that showed representatives of dozens of species working together. Other contestants stopped working and stared in amazement. Hana had solved the puzzle in less than 2 minutes while they were still trying to understand the basic structure. Professor Zeithkol made excited clicking sounds with his mandibles. The puzzle has not responded like that in over 50 years, he said to Dean Morgoth. It was designed by the Academy founders to test for something specific. The second test was the obstacle course. The floor of the chamber reconfigured itself into a complex maze filled with moving platforms, energy barriers, and gravity fields that changed direction randomly. Kethvar used his natural Valkyrian speed and agility to leap between platforms. His forearms helped him maintain balance as he navigated the shifting gravity fields. Kiltara relied on her telepathic abilities to predict where the platforms would move next. Zekthon used his 6 legs to grip surfaces that others could not climb. His insectoid reflexes helped him avoid the energy barriers that would stun anyone who touched them. Hana had no special physical abilities compared to the alien species. She was slower than Kethvar, could not predict the future like Kiltara, and did not have extra limbs like Zekthon. But as she entered the obstacle course, the ancient machines around the chamber began responding to her presence. The mark on her hand blazed brighter and golden light spread out from her like ripples in water. Hidden pathways lit up, showing her safe routes through the maze. The gravity field stabilized when she approached them. Energy barriers dimmed to let her pass through safely. The Academy systems were helping her because they recognized something in her genetic pattern, something that connected her to the people who had originally built this place. Hana reached the end of the obstacle course first, even though she had started last. The other contestants stared at her in shock and confusion. The alien students in the observation area began talking loudly among themselves. Dr. Leviatha, leaned over to whisper something to Dean Morgoth. Her whale-like features showed deep concern. The Academy infrastructure is responding to her presence in ways we have never seen before. This should not be possible. The third test was announced as the trial of moral judgment. The contestants were brought to a control room overlooking a simulation chamber. Inside the chamber, holographic figures representing different alien species were in danger from a collapsing structure. You have enough power to save only one group, the Dean explained. Felcarians on the left, Zephyrians in the center, or Mantis Collective on the right. Choose quickly before they are all lost. Kethavar immediately chose to save the Velcarians because they were his own people. Xiltara selected the Zephyrians for the same reason. Zikthon picked the Mantis Collective members. Hana looked at the three groups of holographic aliens all facing the same danger. The mark on her hand was now burning like fire, and golden light filled the entire control room. She could feel the Academy systems responding to her emotional state. I will not choose between them, she said firmly. All life has value. She placed her glowing hand on the control panel, and golden energy flowed into the Academy systems. The simulation chamber filled with the same bright light. Instead of saving one group, the Academy systems saved all three groups simultaneously. The observers went completely silent. No one had ever changed the parameters of the moral judgment test before. The ancient Academy systems had accepted Hana's choice and modified themselves to match her values. Dean Morgoth stood up slowly. His massive dragon form cast shadows across the control room. In 50,000 years of Academy history, no student has ever accomplished what we just witnessed. But before anyone could respond, alarms began sounding throughout the chamber. Red warning lights flashed as the Academy computer announced an emergency. Critical system malfunction, the mechanical voice said. Ancient defense protocols activating. All personnel evacuate immediately. The golden light from Hana's mark had spread too far into the Academy systems. It was awakening technologies that had been dormant since the first Wanderers disappeared. Equipment throughout the Nexus core began activating randomly. Energy beams shot across the chamber. Gravity fields shifted wildly, throwing students and professors around like toys. The ancient machines that lined the walls came fully online for the first time in millennia. Hana realized that her emotional response to the trial had triggered something much larger than she intended. The Academy systems were not just helping her anymore. They were fully awakening and treating her as their rightful commander. The mark on her hand blazed like a small sun as 50,000 years of dormant technology recognized the return of its creators. But with that recognition came dangers that no one had prepared for. As students and faculty fled the chamber in panic, Hana stood in the center of the golden light, wondering what she had unleashed. The ancient machines hummed with power and seemed to be waiting for her. Commands. Outside the Nexus core, emergency sirens wailed. Throughout the Academy, as systems that had been sleeping since the first Wanderers era began coming back to life. The golden light from Hana's mark spread throughout the entire Academy like wildfire. Emergency alarms wailed as ancient systems awakened after 50,000 years of sleep. Holographic displays appeared on every wall, showing symbols that matched the pattern on Hana's palm. Students and faculty ran through the corridors in panic as the Academy transformed around them. Doors that had been sealed for millennia opened by themselves. Computer systems that no living being understood came online and began displaying information in the ancient human language. In the Nexus core, Hana stood at the center of the chaos, feeling overwhelmed by what she had triggered. The mark on her right hand blazed like a miniature star, casting golden shadows on the walls. Every piece of technology in the chamber was responding to her presence. Dean Morgoth remained on the observation platform, even as other faculty members evacuated. His ancient dragon eyes watched Hana with a mixture of awe and fear. Commander Groktar, the bear-like military instructor, stayed beside him with his hand on his weapon. "Child, you must control this power," the Dean called out over the noise of awakening machines. "The Academy systems are recognizing you as their original commander, but they may not distinguish between friend and enemy." Hana tried to dim the light from her mark, but it continued blazing brighter. She could feel the Academy systems reaching out to her mind like they wanted to merge with her consciousness. Ancient knowledge flowed into her thoughts faster than she could process it. Suddenly, the chaos stopped. Every alarm went silent and the flashing lights dimmed to a soft golden glow. A massive holographic figure appeared in the center of the chamber. It was a human woman wearing robes that sparkled with starlight. The hologram looked exactly like Hana, except older and wearing a crown made of the same golden metal as the academy walls. When she spoke, her voice filled the entire chamber with gentle authority. "I am Li Ye-jin, last empress of the first Wanderer civilization," the hologram announced. "If you are seeing this message, then one of the marked children has awakened the academy systems that we left as guardians." Every person in the chamber stared at the holographic empress in stunned silence. Even Dean Morgoth, who had lived for thousands of years, looked shocked by what he was witnessing. The empress continued speaking as images appeared around her, showing the ancient human empire at its height. Golden ships moved between thousands of worlds. Humans with glowing marks worked alongside alien species to build magnificent cities among the stars. 50,000 years ago, my people ruled much of this galaxy, the empress explained. But we did not rule as conquerors. We were gardeners who helped younger species grow and learn. The marked ones among us could interface directly with technology that responded to biological commands, rather than mechanical input. New images showed humans teaching alien species how to build starships and create advanced medicine. The academy appeared as it had originally been built, a place where every species could learn together as equals. But our time of guidance came to an end when we detected a threat approaching from beyond our galaxy, the empress said. Her expression grew sad as darker images appeared. Creatures of living shadow that devoured entire star systems. They consumed light and life itself, leaving only empty void behind them. The holographic display showed massive battles between human fleets and dark creatures that seemed to absorb energy weapons. The humans fought bravely but were clearly losing against an enemy that grew stronger with each attack. We called them the Devourers, the Empress continued. Our greatest scientists determined that they were drawn to large concentrations of advanced technology. As long as our empire existed, we would be a beacon calling them to this galaxy. The images showed human leaders making a terrible choice. Rather than fight a war they could not win, they decided to abandon their empire entirely. The golden ships began carrying humans away from their worlds toward unknown destinations. So we made the hardest decision in our species' history, the Empress said. We dismantled our empire and scattered our people across the galaxy. Most went into voluntary exile in distant dimensions. Others had their memories altered and were settled on primitive worlds like Earth. Hana felt tears running down her face as she learned the truth about her ancestors. They had not been defeated or destroyed. They had sacrificed everything to protect the galaxy from a threat that might return. We left behind only the Academy and a few other installations, the Empress explained. These were designed to appear dormant until marked children awakened them. The Academy would serve as a school for younger species while secretly monitoring for signs of the Devourers' return. The hologram turned to look directly at Hana. Child, of my bloodline, you have awakened these systems because the time of hiding is over. Deep space sensors are detecting the first Devourer scouts entering the outer rim of our galaxy. New displays appeared showing the current galactic map. Red dots marked the locations where dark ships had been detected moving between star systems. They were still far away but clearly approaching inhabited space. Dean Morgoth stepped forward and bowed deeply to the holographic Empress. Your Majesty, he said in his rumbling voice, I am Morgoth, keeper of the Academy in your people's absence. We have maintained this institution as you commanded, but we did not know the full truth. The Empress smiled at the ancient dragon. You and your colleagues have served well, old friend. The Academy has grown beyond what we originally envisioned. The species here have learned to work together just as we hoped they would. She turned back to Hana, and the golden light from the mark began to pulse in rhythm with the hologram. You must understand, child, that the mark is not just a symbol of heritage. It is a biological key designed to activate our most advanced technology. Only marked humans can control the weapons and defenses we left behind. Prince Kethvar, who had been watching in stunned silence, suddenly fell to his knees. His purple skin had gone pale as he realized how wrong he had been about humans. Forgive me, he whispered. I did not know what you truly were. Kiltera also knelt down with her white glowing eyes showing fear and respect. Her telepathic abilities let her sense the vast power sleeping within the Academy systems. All this time I thought I was the advanced one, she said quietly. But humans built all of this. The Empress looked at the alien students with kindness. "Do not kneel, young ones," she said. "My people never wanted to be worshipped. We wanted to be partners in building a better galaxy. That dream can still come true if all species work together against the coming darkness." More holograms appeared showing the locations of other hidden human installations throughout the galaxy. Ancient weapons platforms disguised as asteroids, defensive systems built into the cores of planets, ships waiting in pocket dimensions for the call to battle. The technology exists to defeat the Devourers, the Empress announced, but it requires cooperation between all species. Human innovation must combine with alien knowledge. The marked ones can activate our weapons, but they cannot use them alone. Hana felt the weight of enormous responsibility settling on her shoulders. She was no longer just a student trying to prove herself worthy. She was the key to awakening an empire that had been sleeping for 50,000 years. The holographic Empress began to fade as her message came to an end. "Remember, child," she said to Hana, "power without wisdom leads to destruction. Wisdom without power leads to extinction. You must find the balance between them." As the hologram disappeared, the golden light from Hana's mark dimmed to a soft glow. The Academy systems returned to normal operation, but something fundamental had changed. Everyone present now knew the truth about human heritage and the approaching danger. Dean Morgoth looked around at the alien students and faculty members. "The age of secrets is over," he announced. "We must prepare for war."